Ah, shit. Hold on. Fuck. God fucking... 1 second. Hey there, fellow enjoyers. Good to see you again. I was just focused on playing a game that has taken over my life. Kenshi. Kenshi is a weird, engaging, broken, unique, and very autistic game that has been out for quite some time. And it has ruined my life. I've known of Kenshi for a very long time, as I first saw it on 4chan's video game board 7 odd years ago, which is why I have gone out of my way to avoid it. But finally, my resistance has been broken. My friend gifted it to me, and that was when my downfall began. In the time since, I have put hundreds of hours in, sacrificing everything to the dark gods of Kenshi. But rather than just review it, today I'm going to tell you about something special. Something that only happens once a game. I'm going to tell you about my very first playthrough of Kenshi. It all began when my friend gifted it to me, so after installing the game, I asked him what quality of life mods he might recommend, and I took a little time to get them all set up, performance tools, cosmetic stuff, things to that effect. After that was all said and done, I experienced the magic of Kenshi's character creator. After some time messing with it and figuring it out, I had my guy. This is Robert, and his body is ready. Okay. This is Rebecca, and her body is ready. For what? Great question. I have no clue. After sorta wandering around a bit, lost and confused, and getting beaten up more than once, I asked for some direction. Kenshi is very much a make-your-own-adventure experience, but I simply had no clue where to begin. My friend recommended a few steps to get my experience going, farming ore to both sell and use for strength training, and to eventually get enough money to get some friends and join the Thieves Guild. I really didn't get it, but it's a goal, so let's do it. Rebecca also got tired of fighting with sticks and made the decision to rely on her fists. Was this a good idea? No. Absolutely not. Now, with hindsight, I know that martial arts, while strong once you've reached high levels of training, is very weak and hard to level early on. But hindsight is 2020. So with the power of breast sliders and anime on her side, she would become Blackie Chan. Finding some slavers and bandits fighting it out, I decided to use this as a chance for free loot and free training. It turns out beating the homeless is good for training, especially when they are injured and can't fight back. After experiencing the euphoria of assaulting the less fortunate, I returned to mining. After a bit, the hungry homeless returned for revenge, so I hid inside this roadside bar, where the local Naruto clan were happy to murder everyone for me. Very polite of them. The homeless have trash for weapons, but money is money, and it's free training to fight them with the ninja's help. This cycle repeated itself a few times, and Rebecca became well acquainted to the free rooftop beds and creepy ninjas who like to watch you sleep. And with enough cycles, I had money, so I loaded up my inventory till I was over encumbered one last time and headed to Squinn. Per my friend's recommendation, this would not only be good for a little extra training, but also give me the chance to get some servants, I mean friends, to help me on my journey to martial arts mastery. After being deeply and thoroughly cavity searched by the local guards,
"You got a tight little man pussy on you, don't you?"
I went to pawn my ore, where I met Ruka. I guess the Shek have something about cutting your horns off if you lose a fight and honor or some shit. So Ruka wants to join me, so she can show everyone how big and honorable her dick actually is. Great, happy to have you and your unwavering willingness to kill and die for me on board. I also met Kang, who has way better stats than myself or Ruka, but he wanted money. Luckily, I could afford it, so I brought him on board to solve my getting my ass beat problem. From here, I was not sure what to do next, but with my newfound slaves, I mean friends, I figured we could mine ore faster and carry more of it, as well as train Rebecca and Ruka's strength a bit more. We made our way back to the hub after filling up. Along the way, we found some shit-ass dead dudes, so we took their stuff. I don't know how they died, but I'm sure they deserved it, like I deserve this gear. The end of all this mining and looting is to get the cash needed to join the Thieves Guild. For a mere 10 grand, they will become your best friends and die for you at a moment's notice. They also offer great backpacks at discount, some other armor and gear at a big discount, and free cosmetic surgery. They even have penis enlargement surgery on offer, so Ruka got her horns back.
It feels like something's poking my butt.
Actually, something is.
They also have some free use training stations, and while they won't take you very far, they still will train you some, so I set out powering up. It was shortly after this I discovered you could name your faction and the squads your characters are in. So at this point, my profound mental retardation should be self-evident, as I chose the only name worth having. Having a good, strong name for our faction, I decided to let Kang and Ruka do their thing while I put what my lifelong best friends, the Shinobi Thieves, had taught me to good use, and permanently borrow some goods from a local poor person's house. They had multiple copies of the Bible, which I would be pawning, and some other garbage I sold as well. Having procured some funds for food, our would-be adventurer realized one issue. While Ruka and Kang could train on dummies, there was only one way for her to achieve true Kung Fu mastery, something she had already tasted earlier in her journey: the blood of the homeless. Sorry, old man, but my journey to godhood must be paved with your suffering. Some might find it regrettable to do, but your pain and pawnable belongings are sacrifices I'm willing to make. Now with the team powered up and in sync, they headed to the countryside to assault the local wildlife, run with the herds, and loot old ruins. Bags full, the team stopped at a nearby way station to sell what they found and restock on basic supplies. There was a gentleman looking for work, but to be honest, I don't like his face. So I left Kang and Ruka to distract him.
Wonderful weather we're having.
Yes, it is.
Okay, see you around.
While Rebecca made her thief sensei proud. Her tens of minutes of training were finally going to pay off. Escaping with their ill-gotten repair kits, the team returned to their favorite bar to unload their inventories. I really didn't know what to do from here, so I decided to adventure northward, arriving at Stack, where I encountered the most intelligent bigot in Kenshi. You see, I knew next to nothing about the Holy Nation, but now I understand that it is a nation of Andrew Tate stands. So I did the only morally good, righteous, and objectively correct thing I could, and began stealing from the local populace. With no interest in joining Hustlers University, the party instead headed south, arriving in vain. The local alpha males immediately honed in on Kang's thick-ass cheeks and chased him down. Luckily, the local stickman population cannot experience fear and beat the creature to death. This was my first experience with hivers. I saw one or two in passing in Hub, but this was a whole new level. They live inside poop mounds to protect their very high quality goods from blood red rain, and walk around mindlessly in what can loosely be described as a small town, almost identical to an American suburb. Graceful. With fond memories of whatever the fuck that was fresh in their minds, our party headed further south, as far away from Vane as reasonably possible. After a short stop to relieve the homeless of their blood, the party made a pit stop in Squinn to borrow a new weapon for Ruka from the local item shop. I'm sure they won't be missing it. While traveling, the party came across a place called the Exile Camp, whose residents did not like being called the Band of Boners. I don't know why, I thought it was hilarious. So after a quick recovery nap, we hired some local murderers, I mean mercenaries, and returned to teach these boner fiends a lesson they would not soon forget. Because they're dead. This is also how I discovered the power of bounties. Dropping our good friend Tora at Squinn's all-day 24-hour daycare for would-be criminals, the party continued south. You see, I figured since Kill Team 6 was still under contract, I could survive whatever horrors lurked in the swamp. I expected the usual alligators, bugs, the British, the kinds of things you usually find in a gross, wet place. Here we can see traditional English housing, and also whatever these perfect creatures are. Eventually, we arrived at the London suburb known as Shark. Inside the local pub, our heroes met a far more sentient and normal hiver named Green, with advanced firearm experience, and this funny robot man who, after a few quick adjustments in the editor, both joined our team. It was shortly after this that Rebecca discovered something that would change her life forever. Drugs. You see, almost every single vendor in Shark sells drugs. A lot of drugs. These are extremely illegal, extremely addictive, but most of all, extremely in my inventory. The locals seemed to not like that I had purchased every drug in town, as one tried to pick a fight with me, causing Kill Team 6 to spring into action. This caused a cascade of events resulting in a town-wide London shootout. You see, the British don't care for firearms. Instead of politely shooting their enemies from a distance like a civilized American street gang, they prefer to chop them up slowly with kitchen knives. I'd say that this was bad, but no one seemed to care as I made off with the quite valuable gear the various unconscious and dying were wearing. I also used the chaos to my advantage to steal even more drugs that some of the vendors had hidden. You're not hiding them from me.
Dear Diary, jackpot.
I was concerned that everyone would die, including all of the vendors, and my only just found source of hardcore drugs I could abuse would be lost to me forever. But luckily, things calmed down shortly after, and I made out like a bandit with no real consequences. So, backpack full of the good stuff, the party made their way out of town. Now, you might be asking, what do I intend to do with all these amazing and morally good narcotics? Well, you see, Rebecca had a plan. She knew of a population of people who desperately need to mellow out. So the party set their sights back on the Holy Nation. On the way, the team happened by a small village where a kindly man had dogs for sale. Despite her complexion, the inner white woman in Rebecca took control as she could not resist acquiring her own bone dog. Now, with their very own murder pope in tow, the team arrived back at Stack. Drug smuggling is no small task, so the team set up a small base hidden in the rocks near the city. Green kept watch and Handy managed the goods. Thus, they set their plan in motion. Rebecca snuck into the city and began her devious plan. Now you might be thinking, haha, he's about to learn that you can't sell drugs to most vendors. But that, my friend, is where you're wrong, because learning is for nerds, and I am the base Chad, while the Holy Nation are cringe beta cucks. No, you see, my time as a hardcore playa on the streets has taught me that you start with free samples. Once they're hooked, they can't go anywhere but to you. Once night fell, Rebecca snuck into the homes of the citizens of Hustlers University and politely deposited yummy drugs into each person's pockets. But every plan, no matter how perfect, has a chance of failure. While she did succeed at passing out almost all her free samples, this extreme drug slinging eventually resulted in unwanted attention from the Andrew Tate faithful. So she ran away as far and as fast as she could, which took a surprising amount of time. Who knew Andrew Tate stans hated drugs this much? They followed her just until she reached a place called the Fog Islands. The rest of the team made their way there to meet up with her. Shortly after getting together once again, they encountered a strange, very naked, and very hostile group of hivers known as Fogmen. Having thoroughly murdered them, the team discovered one of them had a head that cost more than a high-class escort would charge. Looking at the map and seeing a city in the Fog Islands, the team started making their way there to hopefully offload the rest of their drugs and this uncomfortably valuable decapitated skull. However, the team quickly found out that the Fogmen were much scarier than they appear. You see, once you fight one, you fight 10,000. After repeatedly fighting, running, fighting some more, and then running some more, the team arrived at Mongrel, where the guards were having their own fun adventures with the Fogmen. This is when the guards explained to our heroes of drug-fueled justice that if you're lucky enough to make it to Mongrel, you'll probably never leave. The thing is that, as it turns out, the Fogmen are not just funny stickmen who love dying. They are in fact Twitch viewers. You see, the little stickmen fight and kidnap anyone who is not a Fogman and then put them on a pole. Then a Twitch streamer shows up and begins doing some absolutely schizophrenic shit while they all chant wildly and bow to his every action.
I think they need to dial it up.
There's also a lot of screaming, the true Twitch experience. So I guess we'll be staying here for a bit. Luckily, my lifelong brothers in crime, the Shinobi Thieves, have a base in Mongrel with communal beds. Unwashed they might be, but they are free and we are quite injured. This also gives us a chance to sell the rest of our yummy drugs as well as other stolen Holy Nation goods. We also met a delightful fellow that I had come to learn only later is quite the specially beloved little boy. His name is Beep.
I've only had beat for a day and a half. But if anything happened to him, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself.
Boasting unique dialogue and abysmal stats with limbs designed for cutting off, Beep is ready and willing to give his life for whatever I desire. And that means he's on board. But he also was very naked. So Rebecca did what she does best and very legally and ethically acquired some clothes for him. Afterwards, we stopped by each of the local bars to see what other people might be available to add to our group in hopes of eventually leaving Mongrel alive. The first of which was Shrike, a woman who quite clearly just wants to get the fuck out of here. And who can blame her? She was more than happy to join my hodgepodge, but otherwise very normal, adventuring party if it meant she could get out of here. Realizing that things were starting to get a bit too coherent, I decided there was only one thing to do, and that was to add a little more schizophrenia to the party. And I found it in these two. An old man with a spine problem who I berated into joining me, and of course, Infinite Wing Wang. He is quite insane and very proud of himself. It was a tough call. Dare I engage the might of Infinite Wing Wang? Yes. Now, with an almost doubled party, I found myself with a new conundrum. These new people were willing, but not quite able. So I did the only thing I could do, co-opt the local police training grounds without permission and set the game to ludicrous speed. While Rebecca watched for a few days and nights, I eventually decided I'd have her do Fogman recon while the team continued to train. This is when I had an idea. Just like we had trained our martial arts using the suffering of the homeless, so too could we now, with the help of the guards, train against the endless onslaught of Twitch viewers. This also had the added benefit that when the guards would kill a prince for me, I could collect their very valuable severed head. I also rescued a few people to feel good about myself, but let's just say they don't seem too good at not being eaten. Now, since we were going to be in Mongrel training up our new recruits enough to safely come and go from the Fog Islands, I decided to invest in our very own sex dungeon. I mean, home to live in. You see, I had not even touched on the world of research, and I did not know yet what wonders it had in store for me. But since my friend had previously told me it was worth delving into, I saw this as a good opportunity. With the ability to sell head to pretty much anyone to keep us in the money, I could afford to buy food, materials, and research books. Speaking of Foghead, I learned a pretty neat trick. No death yard nearby, no worries. Simply kidnap any Fogman and put him on the pole. And in no time, a Fog Prince will rush over to begin their cannibalism livestream. As it turns out, these guys don't care who's on the pole, only that someone is. This made it easy to create a death yard right outside the front door of Mongrel to allow me to more easily collect the delicate and delicious Fog Cranium. I also employed a new useful strategy. As it turns out, our boy Kang is dummy thick, and his ability to twerk easily alerts the guards. Using this strategy, we can position Kang in twerk mode, causing everyone to lose all focus on anything that isn't his juicy cheeks, and rob them of everything they have. Now you might be thinking, I thought you had a lot of cash from giving head. Well, I do, and I want to keep it. It's what Thief Sensei would do. I know, because he lives right down the road. This, however, was not enough, and I quickly found myself in need of additional learning material and pornographic magazines. So I once again asked my friend where one finds ancient lesbian porn text, and was informed to buy some maps which would eventually reveal a ruin over an obedience, where I could sate my deviant desires. Having located the ancient goon cave on the map and trained enough to hopefully survive, the team set off. Surprisingly, the trip was uneventful. There were some killer robots inside the ruins, but it would appear that they cannot detect black people. After stopping by a nearby Hiver village to sell off all of the valuable components we found, the party went north. It was all pretty normal, actually. You know, cannibals attacking the innocent, naked screaming forest people, hidden ninja villages, and a town named after that one Simon Pegg movie, concluding with a nice stop at a fishing village. Now this was a bit of a letdown as Rebecca had come to associate fish merchants with drug dealers, and as it turns out that's not actually normal. And being how normal of a place this area is, I'm not sure how we ever made this mistake. Among all this, we did meet a funny robot named Burn who was waiting to die of like robot brain death or something. So after gaslighting him into joining, we quickly looted his house for all it's worth and set off for the Great Desert. The Great Desert is an interesting place, home to the United Cities, where we learned all about the great industry their economy relies on.
Today's subject, slavery.
While I was not completely ignorant of the subject in the world of Kenshi, having met and looted a few slavers in the past, because we dodged the Holy Nation, I didn't really get a close look at it. Now, credit where credit is due, the United Cities are significantly more progressive than the Holy Nation. Where the Holy Nation prefers to enslave women and non-humans for the evil act of being how they is, the United Cities takes a more egalitarian approach. They will enslave pretty much anyone. Women, men, children, old people, doesn't matter. They just love slaving. I, however, find it a bit distasteful and would rather they stopped, but I don't exactly have the means to go to war with an entire faction, so instead I began the process of doing the next best thing, knocking all their leaders unconscious and stealing the most valuable items they own. Using the twerking Kang strategy to distract the guards, I pilfered the weapons and other goods from every noble we could come across. This also introduced me to high-grade weapons, such as Edge Type 3 and even better, Metal weapons. Metal weapons are special, mostly one-of-a-kind weapons made long ago by a legendary blacksmith named Cross, who smoked an ungodly amount of crack, crafted the greatest weapons ever made, and then disappeared forever. Most likely from an overdose. What? You think that's not canon? Too bad. It is now. As good people and definitely not criminals who just wanted money, the team took the time to pull an Ocean's 11 on the Grand Central Bank. Kang taking up position to distract all the local sheck-ass enthusiasts, while Rebecca ninja ran into the vault and looted everything. We used the special teleport inventory through Walls no Jutsu to share the load with the team, standing very close outside. After a quick stop in Black Scratch, which disappointingly did not have anything to do with Black Tar Heroin, we eventually arrived at Brink, that comfortably sits directly next to a death zone of non-stop orbital space lasers. After a short resupply, I realized that Crumblejohn had really put in the work since our time in the hellscape known as Mongrel, and decided to fix his severe spine damage. Now with our old man a bit more Chad-like in appearance, the party skirted around the death lasers and arrived in a cool little place known as Flat's Lagoon, where I purchased some treasure maps and discovered some more ancient goon caves in the space laser land. I also discovered that if you go at night, you can for the most part avoid the space lasers. Unfortunately for me, I also discovered that this old lab was filled to the brim with evil, headless skeleton sex slaves and the two angry gooners who controlled them. So after pulling a pro maneuver only performed by top tier gamers known as save scumming, I hired some cannon fodder, mercenaries, and went back to the goon cave of agony. This turned out to be quite worthwhile, as there was a ton of good ancient pornography to acquire and some pretty good items on Ponk and Screamer, including some metal weapons. There was also this mentally deranged screaming robot they had locked in a cage who I decided would fit in with us perfectly. He seemed to agree, or not. Hard to say, but he is with us nonetheless. After a quick bounty drop-off in Brink, the party came across something interesting. It's marked on the map as a hidden drug lab. I assumed, with how it was empty outside and out in the relative open, it must be a trick. I was distinctly wrong. It was beautiful, filled to the brim with the sweet, sweet hash Rebecca had missed so dearly. It was nearly as heartwarming as beating the homeless. This also gave us an interesting insight. The chill guys at Flat's Lagoon will buy drugs at a very high price, no questions asked, which gave me an idea. I'd set up a base, grow a bunch of hemp, and turn Rebecca into the queen of Kenshi's drug empire. To do this, we had to evict Shem's local homeless population, which honestly was a pleasure all on its own. While that was going on, I sent my favorite stickman to sprint across the continent to find some recruits we had previously met. I had discovered, through the power of the internet, that some of them were actually quite good at farming from the get-go, which would be immensely useful for my burgeoning drug empire. We also just needed more hands in general. So besides Greenfinger, not to be mistaken for Green the Hiver, we also picked up Knife, Pia, and Hobbs, and a few others to round out our workforce. While the Shem operation ran its course growing, refining, and ferrying drugs to fill our pockets, I realized there was one place that had a taste but never got the chance to come back for more. So Rebecca, Hobbs, Knife, and Pia set back out to stack to begin Operation Holy Weed. Thanks to all the researching we were able to do from the various ancient lab adventures, we had access to hydroponics. But who would be running this operation, considering Rebecca's criminal history and stack? Well, Meet John Drugs. He, alongside his wife Jenny Drugs, are prepared to bring Stack what it needs, craves, and cannot get the assistance to give up. With the guards none the wiser of their secret hemp shacks and rooftop refining, the couple filled their shop with the two things the good religious people of Stack needed most. I discovered from this endeavor something else very interesting. Normally, if something is illegal, you can't sell it to most vendors. However, if you put that item inside a shop, the good people of the town, including the guards, will come by the shop and purchase it themselves. This isn't exactly the most lucrative, as there is no significant markup if they buy it themselves, but it is quite funny. And let's be real, this never was about the money. It's about the drugs. With the Drugs family business up and running and a sizable fortune in our pockets, it was time to expand the business to the Holy Nation's capital, Blister Hill, ruled over by the biggest Tate stan of them all, Lord Phoenix. When we arrived, I did run into one major issue. There was almost no real estate for sale. At most, some tiny shacks. How could I bring the good word of drugs to these desperate, helpless, racist misogynists in need? Well, thanks to the power of the Steam Workshop, I became BlackRock and evicted all these helpless young men from the only place of refuge that they have, to create a very legitimate bar for very normal people. Thanks to the ample roof space, the setup was much faster and production to end product was greatly accelerated. With the shop set up and supply in hand, I sent Rebecca to do round 2 of Operation Forced Addiction and deposited drugs in every citizen's inventory, simple farmer and man of God alike. Even Lord Phoenix was not safe from the sticky goodness of our delicious and organic drugs produced locally, so you know you can trust it. I also stole Lord Phoenix's sword and gave it to Pia. This didn't help the plan, I just thought it was funny. Now, if there is one man who looks and sounds like someone who knows how to convince another man to buy drugs and then squeeze them for every penny they have, it's Hobbs. So while the girls plied their craft behind the scenes, Hobbs ran the front of house. Rebecca looked on in pleasure as even the guards were now hooked. But even with the entire Holy Nation in her hands, there was one thing missing. Something that could not be filled with money or drugs. Because she knows the lessons all good drug lords know. Never get high on your own supply. No, she had something important, something final that must be handled before she could retire to fortune and luxury. Rebecca never did forget that encounter with the guard in Stack. While he is most likely in an alley somewhere dying from an overdose of our own product, a happy thought for us all, there was someone at the top of the food chain who must also learn. One last time, she put what Thief Sensei taught her long ago. No, not that. Yes, that's it. And kidnapped Lord Phoenix in his sleep. She brought him back to her old friends who taught her the meaning of good head. With Lord Phoenix now getting his very own Twitch stream, Rebecca had finally accomplished everything she set out for and could retire to drug-fueled luxury. And with that, my first ever Kenshi adventure comes to a close. Looking back on this story, I can really feel why I became so addicted to Kenshi. It is a game where everything you do can suddenly springboard you into a completely unrelated new adventure that is organic and unique to you. You can do almost anything, and the game really won't stop you. It was, for me, unironically, an experience I had never had before, and one I will probably never forget. Kenshi is a game best played as an open-ended adventure where you simply set goals and use completing those goals as a jumping off point for the next goal, till you suddenly get the urge to start over as a malnourished psychopath missing his arms in the middle of the desert. But that is a story for another time. Hopefully you enjoyed this journey as much as I enjoyed experiencing it. Now, if you will excuse me, there are some people dying over there from skimmers, and if I don't steal their stuff before they wake up, who will?